Let's add some details to the shot. I'll go to the viewport setting, but in a shader. I'll make it cavity. I like this kind of view. I'll go to the last frame and start adding background details. For that, I will simply go to my asset library. First, I'll create a wall. Like, I'm not going to explain every single point because this will take a lot of time. I'm simply adding few stuffs and then maybe I'll fast forward it. I have this wall like structure. I'll just simply drag it to the scene and make it look like this. Let's duplicate the ground and just move it one more time here just to give that more depth. And also for the blocker looks small. I'll edit it and try to add the scale. This area is not seen in the camera, so no need to worry about these extra parts, just to add some details. Later we can delete it if it's not really needed, but let's keep it for now. Okay, now we have something like this. Now add more details in the background. Like I am going to use some of these sets that I have. I'll simply drag it to this shot and this kind of some, I don't know what exactly they are, but they looks good in the scene. They like some machines and some industrial stuff. They look good. They look bright at the moment. We can change the, or you can use the gamma to reduce the brightness. Just keep adding stuff that you want in the scene. Let's scale down or bring this down and view it from the camera. Okay, these are good. I'm going to add some floors here on the mid ground. For that I have some more objects like these ones. Now I'm not going to add it randomly. I have the human scale reference cube. We can use that as a reference. You can roughly match it. You don't have to be very precise on that. So it is roughly matched with this kind of scale. Now it's not visible in the camera. Let's make it visible. Like I'll bring it here or somewhere here. Yeah, these kind of structures can give the parallax in the scene and also give some complexity. This space is quite empty, so let's add some of these floors there. Let's keep the floor. Now I want to add some ceiling, but I want to make it look like the ceiling is opening and then the spaceship or the ship is coming inside the hangar. To do that, I'll simply use one of the object, this kind of door, but this is vertical. I'm going to use this one as a horizontal. This is not going to be seen clearly in the shot because of the direct light from the sky. It will be dark, so no need to worry about the squeeze texture. That's okay. Now I can alt delete and keep it like this, and also alt delete again and simply rotate it 180 degrees. Go to the top view and you can just make it color to get the more idea. I'll just keep it random, so because of the color difference we can understand. I want this kind of triangular shape when the gate is opening. We can adjust the grading in the comp as well, but let's block it technically. If it is technically correct, then it looks more better. Now technically when gate is closed, the light should not be hitting on the inside the hangar, but because we have only set it here, let's adjust the blocker here. I'll take it up, edit it, and take these two vertices and move it somewhere here. Now you can see that light is blocking already. At this point also I'll just take these 2 points and bring it here. Now all the lights are closed. We have only the emission points because these lights you are reading is from the details that we added. Let me show you that. So let's move this blocker here. So if you look at these objects, due to that emission lights, we are reading some of the lights, but that's okay. We want that kind of details in the shot. Let's bring this blocker back to the position. So now it's closed, and once the gate is open, you can see that light is now coming inside the hangar. This is what I want, but now I want to animate the gates when the ship is coming inside. So just simply animate it. It's not really any technical or big thing. I'll just move Q2 keys and then that's it. At this point our gate should be open because we are seeing that our ship is about to hit the gate. So on 100 frame maybe, and go to the first frame and also lock the keys. Now at 100 frame I'll just move it this way, and this should be somewhere like this. Let's give the key for this guy as well, and let's see how that looks. Now the gate is, let's make this random as well. Now the gate is closed and ship is coming. That's kind of look I wanted. Let's look with the light. Cool. Now you are seeing that you are reading some of these details in the background and also getting some of that light. Now the gate is closed, everything is as we wanted. Now there are extra things like adding characters, thrusters, and some smoke elements and all that you can do. For fog, you can just simply add the fog box that we are using in all the projects. You can simply create a box and apply a volume to the box, and that will bring the atmos in the shot. You can also use the mist pass from EV. Now nothing is visible because we have to apply the material. Let's take a new and delete it. Create principled volume or volume scatter. I'll take principal volume, connect it to the volume, and now the density is too much. Make it 0.01. Okay, we're getting something. Let's make it 0.85 and adjust the density again. I don't want to read this box in the scene solid box, so make the visibility to bounds. This is simply feels good here, but I'm not going to use this for now. This will be heavy. I'll delete it and I can use it in the end, or you can just create a mist pass from EV. I forgot to mention one thing here. When I use the camera, I change the lens. Let's go to the lens. If by default it is set to 50 mm, I don't want it to keep it 50 mm. I will use it as 80 mm. To show this kind of big objects, I think this kind of lens is good. I don't want it to use the 24 mm lens because by that our ship is looking quite smaller, and that's the reason I used 80 mm, and this is quite good. You can play with 120 as well, even that is quite better, but need to fix location of the camera. But I think for my choice 80 mm is quite good. Now you have the 80 mm lens. I think we need to get some defocus. If your computer is strong, you can directly get the defocused render from Blender, but it is quite difficult to adjust the values later in the comp. So I'm not going to use defocus directly from the Blender. I'll use the Z pass and then tweak the defocus levels in comp using the defocus nodes. Now our cockpit is too dark. You can simply add a light and connect a light to the, or parent that light to the box. Take a point light. Go to top view, side view, and increase the intensity. I'll make it 500 and see how that looks. We're reading something from the cockpit. Let's make it 1000. This is like we're not going too deep, just to read that hint of details from the cockpit. And because we are adding some characters or 1 or 2 characters in the cockpit, we can read some interior. To get that, I'm just adding light here. I'll keep the radius 1. We can see that it's reading well. I think this is working well. I'm just keeping it like this. Now it is fine. For the thruster, I'm going to make a separate tutorial for that because making thruster is quite interesting thing in this shot, and I don't want to make quick video on this or to explain it in a really good way. I thought of making a separate video on making the thrusters, so I'm going to ignore that. Again, as I said before, this shot might look complex, but so far we have seen that we haven't done any very technical thing in the shot. This is just basic layouting and animation and composing the shot. After spending some time, I have did a lot of details in the shot. Like, let me show those all the details I have added. I have added this for ground details, like these wires or cables, and then some of these props here as well. And in the background as well, I just added this kind of structures to hold these floors and some sci-fi or some kind of machines and these spotlights I had. So this is like just keep adding according to your story and then see which one looks good, or just keep playing, spend some time, and then you can understand which things you want, and simply don't add anything that is not visible in the camera. You guys can see that this area is totally empty. I'm not adding any unnecessary 3D models here because this is not seen in the camera. If I see the camera view, we can see we are reading only from this object and from this to this area, and that's the reason I'm keeping all those details, like complex details here and this here, and then in the background somewhat till the midway. And I have also added these extra characters. You can simply grab some mocap characters and then use them in the shot. So I'm using this kind of CG characters all over the scene. I have seen some references that some workers in this kind of scene looks much better, and some guards as well. So that's the reason I'm trying to replicate it, but I don't want to keep them very static. I added some of those characters are animating, like they are signaling something, and so this guy is like waving his hand, and the background guy, and this one guy is running, and this guy is guarding, and then in the end frame there is one more guy coming into the frame. So these are like small things. Also I have added some this one and this one. I simply wanted to give more of that small details in the scene. Just try to find a point where your character is readable in the scene. Like I'm adding it here because of the depth. We're reading this kind of black area, and using this character against that black is going to read this character in the scene even there is a mist or haze. And if I go to this frame, you can see that I have added one more railing kind of structure here, because if I see first frame to frame 200, there is nothing in the scene. This is really empty, I was feeling. So that's the reason I kept these extra details in the scene, like these wires, cables, and then some kind of structure here that gives some parallax and also brings some depth to the shot. And same with this as well. This was quite empty. I added these extra props here, just simply copy paste them and using them all over the places. Now I have added some extra light to the scene. Let me show what exactly they are doing. Turn off the ship at this point. I don't want this. These are area lights. Like if I just select it and see, just to give that structural information in the scene. If I see that when the camera is panning from this point to this point, to read that background when the ship is not there in the frame or this space is empty, I wanted to read these kind of hints in the scene. That's why I'm adding more lights to the whole area. Same goes with this structure here. You can see that it's kind of, and then there is one more light. I was using the SDRI, which is on strength of 5, but I was feeling like that was not enough. If I go to the last frame and let me turn that area light off, it's kind of dark. To give that kind of whole feel in the shot, I just added one more light here in the scene. So this is the whole idea of creating this scene. There is nothing very complex in the shot. This is simply adding more structures, characters, ship, camera, and the framing, nothing else. Then comes the render point. I have simply rendered the ship in separate layer, and the hangar, the whole space is in single layer, and the characters in single layer. I will show that layer composition in Nuke. I have added the crypto mat this time. We can have more control in the comp. I'll also show you what passes I'm going to use. I will use the combine pass, of course, and the Z pass, mist pass. I think I don't want this mist from cycles. I'm going to use the EV mist pass, so I'll just deselect it. Position pass, of course I want it normal, and you can take UV pass, denoising data, and then I will tick all of these. Sometimes I don't want to tweak them more in comp, but I'll just keep them as a safer side. And then I want emission pass because we have a lot of emission lights in the scene, like these lights. These lights will count in emission pass, so I want this emission pass turned on here, and all the lights can be definitely useful for adding glow or kind of bloom in the shot. I'll use ambient occlusion. We don't want shadow catcher because it's already full CG, so no need to worry about that. And the crypto mat, I'll make a separate video on adding the crypto mat or adding the render passes, which is really easy. Okay, and that's the basic idea of this shot. I hope this is quite clear.